Bernie Sanders, você se lembra dele? Pois é, o senador independente, que já foi do Partido Democrata, disputou com Hillary Clinton a indicação para candidato a presidente dos Estados Unidos em 2016 e depois em 2020 contra Joe Biden. Sanders sempre esteve bem à esquerda da mulher de Bill Clinton, mas foi atropelado pela máquina de dinheiro e votos do Partido Democrata. Em 2016, Hillary, com seu nariz empinado, perderia a eleição para Donald Trump de lavada. Agora, aos 83 anos, Bernie Sanders vem a público denunciar o domínio da oligarquia financeira na política dos Estados Unidos. É quase um grito de socorro. Trump está assumindo a presidência novamente numa situação excepcional. O Partido Republicano controla a Câmara dos Deputados e controla o Senado. E Trump ainda vai ter a seu favor a maioria conservadora da Suprema Corte. Nesse vídeo, você vai ver um alerta importante do liberal Bernie Sanders. A oligarquia financeira, com seus bilionários, saiu do armário, fez jorrar bilhões de dólares para comprar a eleição de Trump e vai se apropriar da máquina do executivo. O objetivo é ampliar seus lucros, reduzindo os direitos da classe trabalhadora e, pior, apostando no supremacismo branco sobre as demais etnias, o que pode ser muito perigoso para o mundo inteiro. Nós aqui estamos bem à esquerda de Bernie Sanders, mas como ele mesmo diz, a oligarquia precisa ser contida em todos os lugares do mundo. E eu acrescento, inclusive no Brasil.
You know, it is kind of funny. When politicians in the media talk about Russia and Vladimir Putin, they often use the word oligarchy. They talk about how the oligarchs of Russia have enormous power under Putin. But strangely enough, the term oligarchy is very rarely used to describe what's happening in the United States, or in fact, what's happening around the world. Oligarchy is a global phenomenon, and it is headquartered right here in the United States. The fact of the matter is, and we don't talk about it very much, but this is the reality, a small number of incredibly wealthy billionaires own and control much of the global economy, period. End of discussion. And increasingly, they own and control our government through a corrupt campaign finance system. Since 2020, 5 billion people all over the world have become poorer, while the world's 5 richest billionaires have more than doubled their fortunes at a rate of $14 million per hour. Elon Musk, the world's wealthiest man, has added $120 billion to his fortune just since election day. Got that? 120 billion since election day. While Jeff Bezos, number 2 guy, he only became $67 billion richer in the last month. And Mark Zuckerberg, he became 90 billion richer this year alone. In other words, the people on top who are already phenomenally rich are becoming incredibly richer. Over the past decade, the wealthiest 1% of the global population amassed $42 trillion in new wealth, while the wealth of the bottom half of society barely budged. In fact, as of today, the top 1% owns more wealth than 95% of the people on this earth. Outrageously, the wealthiest people in the world are stashing up to $32 trillion in offshore tax havens like the Cayman Islands in order to avoid paying their fair share of taxes to governments all over the world. In other words, governments are underfunded, and these people stash trillions in tax havens. Meanwhile, the uber rich do spend money to protect their incredible wealth. They do it by buying influence, and increasingly by buying our elections. Billionaires in the United States are 0.0005% of the population. That ain't a lot of people. Yet they accounted for 18% of 2024 electoral spending. Tiny number of people spending huge amounts of money to buy elections. Just 150 billionaire families spent nearly $2 billion to buy our recent elections. Elon Musk alone spent at least $277 million to back Donald Trump. How's that? One guy, $277 million. And we saw the results of that investment working pretty good for him. The major defense contractors spent over $38 million this election cycle. And you know what? They're going to have $1 trillion military budget with enormous amounts of waste and fraud in it. And AIPAC, a billionaire-funded super PAC, spent over $100 million to defeat members of Congress who are critical of the extremist right-wing Netanyahu government in Israel and the horrific war they are waging in Gaza. This is oligarchy. In my view, this issue of oligarchy is the most important issue facing our country and the world, because it touches on everything else. It touches on climate change, touches on healthcare, touches on whether or not working people are going to have a decent standard of living, touches on whether or not we can eliminate poverty.